started very well. Let's take, for instance, go to Port Harcourt, talk about Fubara. It has been from one case to the other, the court judgment and everything. Get to Edo State, some persons are singing the praises of Pebolo. Some persons will point you to things he has done. More so that he just hit his 100 days in office. And some of the persons, as a matter of fact, there must be some people that will say something negative, other people will say something positive. But then we might be looking at all of that area today. Then our focus, as a matter of fact, is the hardship. We've not finished talking about the things happening around, as it has to do with the charges coming from the POS. Before you know it, it's ATM. Before you know it, it's telco. The money is not there, but the little that Nigerians have, somehow it's been taken away from them. Some persons are alleging that, hey, this administration, how is it happening? Are you giving and taking? The challenging economy was still taken. But then, in some states, they are smiling because they have good governors. But what about the states that don't have good governors? Joining me on the conversation today is, of course, someone that has actually been on my program before. I decided to speak with a socio-economic expert today because you can't separate our social life from the economy and what is happening in the nation at this very particular point in time. Joining me on the conversation is Haruna Braimoh. It's good to have you join me on the conversation today.
Thank you very much.
I've not seen you this year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
So I should be saying Happy New Year.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the conversation. You know, this is Nigeria.
Yes.
The charges, you know, people were talking about, you must have heard about the telco charges, you know, then now it is ATM charges. But one thing is the fact that Nigerians are saying the hardship is so much. Why all these charges? You know, additional to this, all these charges are coming in. I don't know. Are Nigerians asking for too much?
Thank you very much. The question is, are Nigeria actually ready to bear much of this? We are getting to a point where almost resistance to some of these policies is inevitable. But on the other way around, we hope and pray with the way the policymakers and the government agents are trying to implement these policies, it does not weigh much in burdens on the populace. As it affects the ATM, let's dwell on that. It was, if you go deep in the analysis in the statements or the issued policy statement of the CBN, relying on sections 10.7 of the banking finance and non-banking finance guides of 2020 as amended, they created provision or like a soft ways for those using ATM from same bank where we pay like zero charges, while they pep up the one for the on-site and off-site. For example, if I'm going to be using my ATM outside my bank, if my bank is any bank and I'm using a UBA ATM, I will be affected by this increment. But if I'm using Zenith Bank, which is my bank, I will be charges free totally. You see, the good thing about some of the policy coming out of Buhari, Tinubu administration, is like it's always embedded with some cushioning impacts. It's telling you can do your transaction free when you are using your bank with zero charge. But when the ATM you are using is not your bank ATM, you will be charged 200 naira for every 20,000. and when you are using ATM outside the normal banking arrangement, maybe you are using an ATM that is in a shopping mall, for example, a place of transaction that is not banking, I think that was also pep up too. So the implementation process now should be how the CBN will ensure that those banks have enough to drive the efficiency, so that most people will rely on because what takes some persons to other banks is when your bank failed you. If I go to any bank ATM machine and it fails to dispense cash to me, somebody will tell me, FCMB they pay. The inefficiency of Zenith Bank is driving me to go and incur where I'm supposed to enjoy free service. Because if I use my Zenith Bank, if I use my Zenith Bank ATM, I'll be paying zero in charges. But since it's inefficient, it's driving me to go and use FCMB now, where I'll be incurring charges of 200 naira. You see the whole interplay.
That's an instance. He's given an instance.
That is what the policy is talking about.
Yes,
that you are going to be getting free.
I'm trying to say, well, you're not.
I'm just an instance. But what the CBN is generally saying is, because a few months ago they evaluated and investigated some of the money banks, they discover a very, very alarming ATM management poor efficiency, which led the CBN to give it to all the banks or some of the affected banks, was about 1.3 billion naira as fine. No bank is paying less than 130 to 150 million fine for ATM inefficiency. You understand? To drive efficiency, you are complaining that your cost of diesel to power the electricity cost, diesel, whatever is that is their own excuse. Cost of managing or cost of efficiency is what is making them to be inefficient. So to bear part of those costs, the government is now saying, through the CBN is now saying, okay, can the nurses bear one part? In return, are you going to give them efficiency?
Yeah, that's major, because
you understand?
If you're paying more, you should get
exactly
service.
What you take me to another bank's ATM, even if I go to a shopping mall where I'm supposed to use another ATM machine where I will be paying more. If my banking app is efficient on my phone, I'll do my transaction with my banking app. I'll see avoid it. So it's a balanced arrangement, sort of. But you know, Nigeria will always go for the clickbait aspect of any issue.
Because of the hardship.
That's what I'm saying. I said, remember the beginning of my conversation. I said, I hope we will not have resistance issue. You understand? Because there's already hardship. Any little thing to stabilize the system is being perceived. And unfortunately, we are in a very volatile political situation where we politicize almost everything. In other climb where things are working, small increase in charges of ATM and all these monetary concerns policies are not what warrant national outcry like this. But because the system there is working, we don't even know that these things have increased.
And the money is there.
Exactly. They don't even know. It's not necessarily the money is there. An economy can be inflated, but if it's not productive, it becomes an issue. That is productive economies, where almost everybody wakes up in 24 hours. They give almost 18 hours to working two, three jobs, working their ass off. You understand? That is a productive economy where almost every citizen earns living. They earn it. Nobody dashes anybody. There's no video expectation. There's no ritual expectation. There's no Yahoo expectation. Everybody wants to earn income. Either you now categorize yourself based on your capacity. Am I a low income earner? Do I belong here? Am I really coming over? Do I need to be an investor? Do I need to be a business? It's a classified society. But like ours, that is still very growing, and with a lot of challenges bordering on infrastructure, it is also an infrastructure issue. The poor infrastructure in the system is what the bank is also giving as excuse, unfortunately, to own up their own inefficiency.
All right.
And to make up, the CBN is also saying, okay, to cut the cost of this inefficiency, let's share it. You bear this, but on the premise that you render efficient service. But at the end of the day, the reason for it by the CBN is that these banks will render efficient service.
All right, let's wait and see how efficient the services of the banking sector will be. Telco's own is still there. They can give you a data of maybe 100 gig, and you are not even able to use 10 gig out of it. Now, we are hammering. The reason why Nigerians are even asking for intervention is because of the hardship. But then, this hardship is relative. You may go to places like Port Harcourt. Some persons are feeling the heat. Some other persons are saying, well, this governor is doing very well. You can go to a place like Ondo State. Some persons will say, oh, this governor that just came to sit is doing well. Okay, a clear example now. Let's just talk about Edo State a little bit. Where we know, all of us know the circumstance and everything that happened during that election. I was telling someone, I said, the hardship in Nigeria, it's as if the people of Edo were trying to make a change. The election was more like a presidential election, and Braimoh actually emerged. And this hardship, Nigerians are complaining of this hardship because they feel some governors, some states are not even trying at all for their citizens. But then, eyes have been on the governor of Edo State, even though we've had one or two persons even complaining about the hardship. Do you think if the governors are doing well, for instance, if the governors are doing well, every allocation coming is being used the way it is supposed to be used, would we have this kind of hardship that Nigerians will be complaining? You said something very vital. If the system is working, no one will even complain of ATM charges. So what's your assessment of governors in Nigeria? Because they are very close to the people. They don't even talk about the federal government.
Yeah, I think basically I'll be using my states, Edo States, as a case study, and it should also interest the public and Nigerians to know that it's 100 days on the 12th of this month marks 100 days governance, practical governance. When I use the word practical governance, governance that is driven on IMAC, you know, what is going on in Edo State now, it's almost across stratas revolutionary governance, from infrastructure to the economy to health to education, just as it promised on its during its inauguration. You understand? Governance for the first time in recent years, in more than 10 years, we are having governance that is linked directly with what I said I will do and what I am doing. You understand? That alone creates that sense of joy among the populace, among the citizens of the states. And during one of his interview on BBC, he said he was going to reactivate the rural economy, the microeconomies. If other state governments can take a cue from that and actually drive policy that activate microeconomies, the peasant economy, the local economy,
the hardship will reduce?
Definitely, because that is the nexus. It's not about the macroeconomy. The macroeconomy is the responsibility, is just to galvanize the happiness across the micro. That is macroeconomics. Macro is at the federal level, built around fiscal design of the federal government to harmonize whatever is going on across the states in Nigeria. But when it's across the state, it's not existent, which is the macro. Then what is the federal government? No effort of the federal government will really yield a good result. Back to Edo State. Today we are talking of loans to interest-free loans to market women. These market women are not white-collar job seekers or workers. These are regular market across 18 local governments, touching their lives. Imagine a typical market woman going to Lapo to take a loan of 2 million. I remember these people give you loan at 30-something%, and they remove the interest from the principal before they give you. At the end of the day, that 2 million may be 1.8 million when it gets to your hand, after they must have removed their interest ahead. That means as a market woman, you are going to be turning over 1.8 million to generate, first of all, 2 million that is in the books that you borrow. Meanwhile, 1.8 million got to your hand before you now begin to generate your profits. Well, Braimoh is coming to say, come and take interest-free loan with a small moratorium of some period.
So as it is right.
So that is how to activate the economy. Now, how do you also activate the economy? Infrastructural revamping. Today, Edo State has become a huge construction site. For the first time in recent years, after adaptation, we are now seeing practical governance on road infrastructure. We know the debacle, the crisis of Benin-Auchi Road. We know the crisis of Abuja, Lokoja, Benin-Auchi, Benin-Saple Road, Benin-Saple-Wari Road. This road construction has been awarded since 2001. Constantly being awarded. We have ministers of works, ironically from Edo State. In the 16 years of the former PDP era, and that road, the money were awarded, the money were appropriated for that road and nothing happened. So now, the same governor is coming to liaise, okay, we can partner with the federal government. Let us key into the tax incentive arrangement of the federal government. We state that some of the companies that are owing federal government company income tax should rather use the money to engage in infrastructure. It's not limited to BOA. Dangote is doing it, MTN, UBA. They have concession arrangement. What you are supposed to pay to the government at the federal level as taxes, you need to execute a particular project or a particular infrastructure, which is having the same value as your possible tax liability. You understand? And he has a head meeting with the president and he graciously approved. Meanwhile, the former governor was playing politics with this. Okay. And today, that road, that road is having massive attentions. It's being shown on television. That is just the federal aspect. Look at the Saple Road, axis of the road, the Saple Road, that was being shown on television. The same TV station should also go and see what is going on. For the first time, Benin City is wearing a new look of infrastructure right now with the massive work going on at the first major flyover. That is at Rama Park.
That is a big state now. Nigerians are complaining of hardship.
When I started, I said, let me use if other states can be tuned into practical governance. We're talking of no money. We will make mention of no money. But since the removal of fuel subsidy, no state governor has been able to tell us that we are not receiving huge allocations. Removal of subsidy has benefited the state governor. Are they actually using it? Because the removal of subsidy does not mean President Tinubu should be sharing the subsidy grace, because we now have much. In fact, constitutionally it has to be shared across the tiers of government. How are the state using it? In Edo State, for the first time, we are seeing it. Even the 13% derivative backlog that Buhari paid, we never saw anything. We asked questions, we cried on television, and that Obaseki should account for it. It was never. Accountability should be matched with the job you have done with it. Transparency and accountability goes together. You cannot tell me you are accountable on paper, but you are not transparent in what you are doing with the money. If you tell me you spend 3 naira, what is the value of project value of 3 naira you use it for? Come taking it to the Edo State government. The current government, we are seeing practical accountability in project delivery. Right now, 300 days in office is undertaking 100 schools renovation, reconstruction, and revamping across the 18 local government. 100 to 100 days in office.
Okay, hold on for.
Are we going to be talking of the civil service before?
Give me a minute now. Let me bring this to fore. We're talking about the hardship which has forced Nigerians to say, well, this ATM charges is too much for us. The federal government needs to do something. Now you're given an instance that it is not just the federal government alone that can calm down the hardship that Nigerians are facing, and you're using Edo State as a case study because you are from there, probably. You are from there, probably you are from there. Now, let's look at other governors. You said something about monies that have been going there and nothing is happening. Which way, how do Nigerians hold these governors accountable? Because now you're saying television stations should go right to Edo State and pick up some of the things that the governor is doing. What about people that are not doing it, that are
we have a lot going on the social media also. It's not limited to television station. But first of all, let me address the Nigeria issue. We have what is called social contract. Social contract is the contract that exists between the government and the governor. Because before you ask of good governance, you understand social contracts. You understand? The man you expect good governance from, do you have a social contract with him? During the electionary, when you were being convinced to vote for him, or when you felt you were convinced to pursue his agenda by voting for him, you have relinquished your legitimacy to him, to hold in trust, to render stewardship in governance. Stewardship. A society that lacks social contract will definitely cry and seek for good governance almost in perpetuity. So we got our things right in Edo State. We realize that we've not really entrenched or put our feet on the ground when it comes to social contract.
Just give a little explanation of what social contract.
Social, everything that has to do with social governance, ranging from your social infrastructure, education, your civic duties and responsibility to the state and the expectation from the state. Do you understand all this? So when a political office seeker comes to you during election that he needs your votes, you have to look at his manifestos. What are the programs of this man that seeks my vote, whether at local government level, at constituency level, senatorial level, House of Rep level, or governorship level, even presidential level. Match his program with your expectation. Is his program flowing with my own expectation of what I understand that I need from government? If I feel his program matches my expectation, then I'm casting my vote for that person. Then I'm giving him, I'm exercising my power, my franchise, the right I have to give him my power to rule over me. But today, we give our powers to people to rule over us by just 2 naira. By giving us 2 naira, without actually looking at the manifestos of the person. What can this man offer? What has he told me he is going to offer? How do I match what he's telling me with my expectation, or what I understand about my needs? I know that as entrenched in the schedule, in the second schedule of the Constitution, that it's the responsibility of states. It's an objective of states to provide free and compulsory education as far as the 1999 Constitution is concerned. So is this man that is seeking my vote promising me, in his program, does he have what it takes to give me that free education? At least from primary to secondary, under the universal basic education laws of Nigeria that is being implemented. Is this man that is seeking my vote flowing in that direction? What is his educational policy? When it comes to enabling environment infrastructure to make me a good citizen, to be able to drive my state policy of self-empowerment economically, where I can be an entrepreneur and engage other people, is this man seeking my vote, telling me that he's going to provide the infrastructure that will make me not rely on government peanuts but to be a contributor to the real GDP of my states?
All right, we're rounding up because
and I think those are the things we are benefiting right now in Edo State. We saw a government, an Okpebolo that was coming to revolutionize a lot of things, and he actually flew with the majority. He flows with the majority of the people's social contract needs. Our need in Edo State was just a government that would come with sense of accountability and transparency in the delivery of good governance across infrastructure, revamping, education, agriculture, and local economy.
All right, finally now, let's conclude because of our time. What would you have to say to Nigerians who are crying because of these ATM charges? Remember, it's not just because of ATM charges. One, there is a hardship on ground, a challenging economy that everyone is faced with. That's on ground. Then these charges is coming just to take out of what they have. We've already established that, well, it was looked into and it's been shared between the banks and, of course, the masses. But right now, what would you have to say to the average Nigerian who is struggling and who must compulsorily
unfortunately we have a society that is whose majority of people are sorry to use the word, we have amnesic issue, you know, and we are very selective in those amnesias, you know. Before you know now, we forgot about this, we are driving another issue. This is the right time for Nigerians to, we have the majority of civil society organizations and NGOs take CBN to task. If after 3 months the banks are not efficient in driving the policy or dispersing of the excuse you gave to Nigeria was efficiency of the ATM management, it's still the same that today you come to this bank, they'll tell you no fund, check the other bank, no fund, check the other bank. Then we have the Consumer Protection Council of Nigeria. Unfortunately, it's not domesticated across states. The NGOs, we have the setup. What are they doing? This is when to come. It's not to criticize the policy. Be part of the implementation process. Implementation is one of the biggest bane in Nigeria. It's not about policy formulation. It's policy implementation. If they are deviating, then we hold the central bank responsibility. That is also part of the social contracts.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, it's been a very wonderful time. I think subsequently we will go check out everything you've said. We will check it out. Remember, we are the ones bridging the gap between the government and the people, the media, of course. Well, let us know what's happening in your area. Is the governor meeting up to standard? Is it increasing the hardship? The local government council chairman, the local government autonomies there, are they meeting up to expectation? This is time for us to cry out. It's good that the cry for these ATM charges is coming up, and we hope that something is done about it because the economy is really challenging. Thank you very much, Mr. Braimoh, for coming around on the program.
It's always my pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, before we bring this global morning to a close, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we will be rounding it out. I have my tag team is going to be here, and we will let you know what's coming up next. Stay with us. We'll return after this break. welcome back from that break. Well, it's been very, very intensive right here. Getting to know that Nigeria's problem is not just the bank charges.
Yes.
Apart from what the banks are doing, people in governance also have roles to play.
Exactly.
The reason why Nigerians are even complaining is because of the dwindling and challenging economy that we're faced with.
Of
the
course.
hardship, or else, if the money is